channel. For today's video, I wanted to show you this really cool book I have called Egyptology. This is part of a series of books called the Ologies series. And I have a few of these that I'll make videos about the other ones some other time. Today we're looking at the Egyptology one. And I get Dugald A. Steer is the person who I think he wrote all of the books in the Ologies series, but he definitely also wrote this book. So let me zoom out here. So these books are by Candlewick Press, and they're very cool because they have a lot of interactive elements, like things you can flip up and things in envelopes. And the premise of this book, it's called Egyptology, Search for the Tomb of Osiris, being the journal of Miss Emily Sands, November 1926 to, and then it's blank. So, the premise of this book is that you have found the journal of Emily Sands, and she's an explorer looking for the lost tomb of Osiris. And so through the course of reading her journal, you learn about ancient Egypt, some of which is true and some of which is not true. And throughout the journal, you read about her journey to find this mythical tomb. So it starts you out here, kind of introducing you to the characters, and then in this envelope here is a letter from Tory Lane to the editors at Candlewick Press, and she's saying, I'm sending you the journal of my great aunt, Miss Emily Sands, who was a keen amateur Egyptologist. She disappeared mysteriously, never to be heard from again. I'm asking you to publish her journal. So that brings us to the beginning of the story. It has these beautiful illustrations, and in this book, the idea is that Emily Sands is traveling with a group of artists, and they've credited each one of the artists in this book, which is cool. Like, each one of the descriptions tells who wrote that, which is cool. Here we have another pop-out thing. So this is supposed to be a papyrus with the Isis, and this is Osiris on the right, and it says that these hieroglyphs say, Isis, Lady of Heaven, Mistress of the Gods, she grants that you may live forever and eternity. And then on the right, Osiris, the great god foremost in the west, Lord of Busiris, who is in the holy mound. I'm not sure that this is a real thing, that this is a replica of a real thing. I think they might have just made this up. but it's cool nonetheless. And so this in the story, this papyrus is supposed to give a clue to the location of the lost tomb of Osiris. So on this page we have an illustration of different crowns of Egypt, and if we open it up, we see some more things about Isis and Osiris and Horus and Seth. So these are gods, I think. Then we have a timeline of different rulers and eras in ancient Egypt. And here are some, I think these are kind of cool, fake advertisements. Walk like an Egyptian on a rambling Ramses walking tour of Egypt. From Cairo to Luxor and back. And then here, let me see. Temperatures in Egypt. So this is a chart of temperatures in different places in Egypt throughout the year. I thought it told us the distance to Luxor, but I guess it doesn't. Here's another fake ad. Don't get burned when you buy a hat. And then we have another. So this is a big, oh here, distances in Egypt. So Cairo to Luxor, it says, is 419 miles. So I think this ad for the walking tour is funny because it says Cairo to Luxor and back. That's over 800 miles. That walking tour is going to take you a long time. So this whole map shows you sites of ancient Egypt, 1926 edition. So it's kind of interesting. This is another cool illustration of these are mourners at the funeral procession of a pharaoh, and then these are little things that show you what's inside the pyramids. Yeah, the art in this book is really, really cool. All of these books have really cool, they're just creative. That's why I got them. I think it's a really creative way, an interesting way to do a book. Small sample of mummy cloth. And it's a piece of linen fabric. Let's zoom in so you can see that. It says mummies have been used for strange things. When American writer Mark Twain visited Egypt, he wrote that they even used them as fuel for his steamboat. Ew. I'm afraid we couldn't get very far with this piece. Found Saturday, 13th November. So, something Egypt. They're talking more about the pyramids and mummies on this page. This is, so these are, each page is like a different entry in Emily Sand's journal, so it tells you the place and the date, and then into her observations about different things. Here's a little fold out called Understanding Hieroglyphs. So this is like a code for reading hieroglyphs, and then what you could do is on the front cover here, there's hieroglyphs here, if you can see them in the light. So you could use this to decode what is on the cover. I haven't done that yet, but I think it would be fun to do that. Seti I, it was later falsely thought to be the site of the tomb of Osiris. And there's a map of the temple of Seti I. This art is showing the daily dressing of the god Horus in the temple. Each day his statue was dressed by the priests, and fresh offerings of flowers and food were placed before him as hymns of praise were sung out. This is archaeological tools. This page is kind of interesting. I haven't seen, well, actually that's not true. I guess one of the other books I have has a game in it, but this is a game in this book. It's a game called Senet, and here they have a little rule book on how to play it. And then in this folder, these are the pieces to play with. So if you wanted to, you could play this game, which is kind of cool. I think that's very creative. Also, it makes me think about how much effort went into imagining and designing and creating this book, like physically creating this book. My guess is that somebody had to put these pieces in this bag and then stuff this bag into this folder. I think that a lot of labor went into making these ology books, and I think they're really cool. I'm trying to think when it was made. Does it say? Yeah, this edition produced in 2004. So I don't think that they're making these books anymore. I think I saw one of the books that I got was like a 20th anniversary edition, I think. So maybe they're coming out with reprints for the anniversaries, but I don't think they're making brand new ones anymore. But there's a lot of them in the ology series. There's a lot, and I hope that they stick around and people can continue to buy them. I was actually inspired to look into them because I saw another ASMR video. Patrick's Attic is the name of the channel, and they have a bunch of these books, and they've done some flip-throughs of them, and it really made me want to get some of my own, because I had one as a kid. I didn't have this specific one as a kid, but I consider myself interested in ancient Egypt, so I wanted to see the ology's rendition of Egyptology. So here this is King Tut, right? And then here is a cool diagram of like the outside of the sarcophagus, and then the next layer, the second coffin, the third coffin, the fourth coffin, and then the mummy itself. Kind of cool how they did that. I think that's really neat. And these are like the different jars you would put. They put the canopic jars. They put the internal organs in different jars. And these are gods that would guard each organ. I think this artwork is really cool. So is this. This is supposed to be like a little postcard. And then on the back it has a poem by Percy Shelley called Ozymandias. Then more sketches and things. And then this this is supposed to be like another little postcard. And on the back it says the Tutankhamun Exhibition, High West Street, Dorchester. Oh, sorry, it's not a postcard. It's a Christmas card. It says Season's Greetings. Merry Christmas, Emily. And then this is all of her crew that was supposed to be traveling with her. I suspect it's the signatures of other people that worked on the book, would be my guess, like the illustrators. Yeah, here's the scene of the party celebrating Christmas. Really cool artwork. Now they're in Nubia. Here's some scenes from inside a temple, outside and inside a temple. Really neat. This is a ceremony preparing a mummy for burial. Some more about mummies. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. This booklet contains a chapter from a papyrus of the Book of the Dead written for a man named Ani. In the papyrus, he is referred to as Osiris, the scribe of Ani. So, this is a real thing. The Book of the Dead, I actually just saw this when I was in New York City in October. They were having an ancient Egypt special exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art that we went and saw, and they had the Book of the Dead on display, and it took up a whole entire room. It was along a big long wall in this big room. It was huge. It was super long. And to me, that was one of the coolest things that I saw there. Because looking at it, how can I describe this? It made me think about, it was evident the amount of effort that had been put in to making this. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying hieroglyphics it's like a dead language, right? Like people aren't writing using hieroglyphics anymore. But this took me back to a time where they were. Like this Book of the Dead is from ancient Egypt. Like, it made it so real to me. And seeing the effort that they put into that document in a language that people don't use anymore, it just made it so real, and it was so cool. It really was cool. That was one of my favorite things that I saw. So it's kind of neat that this is in here. So they're talking about, this is like a transcription and summary of what the Book of the Dead says, and it's basically instructions. Yeah, this text is chapter 30b of the Papyrus of Ani, based on the translation of E.A. Wallace Budge, 1890. Images copyright of the trustees of the British Museum. The Book of the Dead is instructions for Ani, who I think is the man that died. Instructions for his soul to, I think, move on to the afterlife, or like wrap up his business and then move on. It's instructions for what to do after you die. And it was written for him. It's just really interesting. And it has illustrations too. So it has hieroglyphics and a lot of illustrations. Anyway, kind of cool. This is a cool book. And then, so here's is supposed to be like her last page of her journal, and it says, this could be spoilers if you're planning on reading this book, so stop listening now if so. But here's her. She's saying, we found this mysterious tomb, and we were gonna go into it, and then this priestess showed up and started warning us to don't go in the tomb and don't try to open it. There's gonna be dire consequences, muttering about curses. And then in the journal, they're like, we're just gonna come back later and basically ignore this lady. And then it says, publisher's note. At this point, the journal ends abruptly. It was followed by several blank pages, some of them bearing coffee stains, which have not been included. And then here you see the stain. And then that's where it ends. That's the last we hear from Emily Sands in this book. And then this is a letter from the publisher, right? Yeah, as it stands, I think the journal might make an interesting publication. So this is the response to the first letter in the beginning of the book that we saw. And then this is just a follow-up. So in the book, they talk about how this journal came to the niece because it was lost. It got sent to her after being lost in a hotel in Egypt for decades. And so they just sent it, the whole thing, to her. And then this is supposed to be like attachments that were in the journal from Emily Sands. So it's kind of interesting. It's all like little postcards, I guess things from her journey. And I think you could actually use them as postcards if you wanted to. But yeah, I think that's just kind of a fun touch. And again, somebody had to put all those in there and make all those, so it's cool. And that's where it ends. It kind of ends on a mystery. All of these books kind of have a little subplot like that, and honestly, they all kind of end on a mystery, I think, so kind of cool. Thanks for watching my video. Sorry for all of the extra sounds in this one. Sometimes I just can't control what's going on around me, and like the traffic noises we're hearing right now. But I hope that this brought a little bit of calm to your day, and I will see you in my next video.